Did you know that right now, as we speak, there are an estimated 3.9 million industrial robots operating worldwide? Pretty wild, right? Welcome to this explainer on a topic that sits right at the intersection of technology, economics, and honestly, our daily lives, the ethics of automated labor. Today, we are moving way past all the abstract hypotheticals and diving straight into the actual reality of modern automation. From algorithmic management in warehouses to autonomous systems in our own homes, the machines are already here, and they're rapidly reshaping the global economy. So let's dive into it. Will a robot take your job? I mean, it's a high-stakes, deeply personal question, isn't it? The whole rise of the robots thing is so often discussed in terms of, massive stock market valuations or crazy computing benchmarks. But the very real conversation happening at kitchen tables around the world centers entirely on labor displacement. We really have to confront the anxiety that as machines get increasingly sophisticated, human hands and even human cognition might just get pushed to the margins. It's a completely valid, grounded concern, rooted in this long history of technological advancement, and it really serves as the foundation for our entire discussion today. So, to tackle this massive topic, here is our roadmap. First, we'll directly address that burning question: will robots take your job? Second, we'll categorize automated labor into the dull, dirty, and dangerous. Third, we'll look at the rules of the game with Asimov's laws of robotics. Fourth, we'll examine privacy and legal accountability. And finally, we will discuss building an equitable future. All right, let's kick things right off with Section 1. Will robots take your job? We've all seen the blockbuster movies, right? Artificial intelligence suddenly wakes up, decides humanity is the enemy, and chaos ensues. But getting caught up in that classic sci-fi misconception of evil robots actually misses the actual crisis entirely. The reality is simply that robots strictly follow their programming. The real ethical hurdle we're facing in the industry right now is something known as the alignment problem. It's this danger of machine flawlessly executing a flawed, biased, or just poorly constrained objective function that was written by human developers. Like if an automated HR system starts rejecting perfectly qualified candidates, it's not plotting against workers, it's literally just executing a biased algorithm. So the burden of ethics doesn't actually fall on the silicon, it falls entirely on the creators who are writing the code. Which naturally leads us to our next category, Section 2. Dull, dirty, and dangerous. The crucial point here is figuring out where robots actually belong in our society to maximize their value, without harming human livelihoods. Automation is very often best applied to what we classify as the 3 Ds. We're talking about dull tasks like endless, repetitive assembly line work, dirty tasks like navigating municipal sewers, and dangerous tasks. Think about the aftermath of the 2011 Fukushima nuclear disaster. The radiation levels in those reactor ruins were so intensely lethal that they destroyed the circuitry of early probes, let alone human biology. By strategically applying robotics to these highly hazardous environments where human life just simply cannot survive, we aren't displacing labor. We are vastly improving and protecting it. Take a second and think about your own industry right now, or even just the infrastructure that keeps your city running. What is one specific, truly dangerous job that a robot should absolutely do instead of a human? Maybe it's inspecting the high-voltage lines of the power grid during a hurricane, or performing deep-sea welding on an offshore oil rig. When we frame automation in this way, the robot stops being this dreaded rival for our paycheck, and it starts becoming an essential shield that protects us from life-threatening harm. Let's move along to Section 3 and see how this builds into the rules governing these machines, Asimov's laws of robotics. Isaac Asimov's mid-century rules for robotics were revolutionary for their time, demanding that machines physically protect human life. But physical safety was really just the starting point. Today, we have to evolve those protocols way beyond what Asimov ever anticipated. Step 1 is definitely still assessing those physical safety protocols, but Step 2 forces us to address privacy concerns, which is a massive, massive modern hurdle in our age of data capitalism. And Step 3 explores the cyborg concept. Now, scratch that sci-fi Terminator image from your head. This refers to human amplification. It's the process of integrating robotic tools to make a human worker vastly stronger, faster, or more precise, rather than replacing them altogether. So we are walking an incredibly thin line right now. On one hand, we have the absolute miracle of human amplification. That cyborg concept where, for example, a surgeon can use advanced robotic arms to perform impossibly delicate, life-saving procedures that human hands just simply couldn't manage alone. That's amazing. But right on the other side of that exact same coin is the looming threat of profound harm through total labor displacement. The economic tightrope we are balancing on involves maximizing that helpfulness and amplifying human potential while fiercely guarding against the severe socioeconomic risks of pushing everyday, hardworking people entirely out of the workforce. But hey, the physical displacement of jobs isn't the only risk we face, which brings us to Section 4, privacy and legal accountability. Because the true danger of the automated revolution probably isn't some dramatic, violent uprising. The real-life debate is much quieter, and honestly, a lot more insidious. It's the silent loss of personal privacy through everyday automation. Consider for a second that your robotic vacuum likely knows the exact floor plan of your home better than the architect who actually built it. Add in the constant stream of cameras and smart home devices, and the increasingly pervasive use of facial recognition software by automated systems basically everywhere we go. These machines are collecting massive, completely unprecedented amounts of intimate data. Technology is bleeding into our personal, private spaces every single day, and often without us even noticing the sheer amount of data capital we are just giving away. And that constant data collection and automated decision-making leads to a spectacularly messy legal battleground. Think about this. If a programmed machine inevitably commits an error, say an autonomous vehicle miscalculates and crashes, or an AI medical assistant makes a critical diagnostic mistake, who is legally responsible? Is it the programmer who wrote the code 6 months ago, the corporation that deployed it? Lawyers are actually actively debating concepts like vicarious liability in the context of automation, and some are even proposing granting highly advanced AI a form of limited legal personhood just to process insurance claims. Our current legal systems were painstakingly built over centuries to handle human errors, not algorithmic ones. So figuring out who goes to court when the code fails is one of the absolute most pressing challenges we face today. Which brings us to our final and perhaps most important topic, Section 5, building an equitable future. Look, if we allow this technology to run completely unconstrained, the immense financial benefits of automation will naturally concentrate right at the very top. The ultimate goal here is ensuring technological advancements are built to help everyone equitably, not just a few people. We have to proactively shape future economics and legislation. To prevent a scenario where automation creates unprecedented wealth for a handful of tech monopolies while entirely displacing the income of millions, economists are actively debating concrete solutions today. Concepts like a robot tax, where companies are literally taxed for replacing human workers to help fund social safety nets, or even things like universal basic income, are being seriously considered. The robotic age simply must be designed from the ground up as a shared human inheritance. So, I want to leave you with this guided practice, a provocative sort of challenge to end our explainer today. If Asimov's first 3 laws were primarily designed to protect our physical bodies from harm, what is the 4th law we desperately need right now for the year 2026 and beyond? What law is required to protect our digital privacy, our socioeconomic stability, or our fundamental equality in the face of this rapid automation? I want you to draft your own legislation in your mind to ensure an equitable technological future. What rule would you personally code into the very fabric of tomorrow's machines? Think about it. Thank you so much for exploring with me today, and keep questioning the future.